it's Calxiyn here. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to join our Discord server, become patrons over on Patreon, and comment down below on your thoughts on this video. Okay, well, that's not exactly what I mean. So anyway, yeah, we're having we're in interesting times. Let's just put it that way. You know what I mean? So if you guys if you guys obviously watched this episode, you'll know that this episode sort of put people through their paces, I think, and it was, very, very interesting. So let's kind of, go over and talk about it.
So there's a sandstorm.
So there's a sandstorm. So this is like part exposition, I guess, and then part,
vignette. It's like we can't move beyond those. We want to do World of Remnant so bad. We can't say no, so we will do a World of Remnant that doesn't take place in Remnant.
Yeah, that is kind of what happened, isn't it? But yeah, so basically it seems like that there is a lot of history here, and I'd like to do a video on the history lesson that we sort of got. But I think that right now it's more important just to give, like, general thoughts on the episode and whatnot, and not get too distracted, so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So I think that right now we should sort of focus on that. So to focus on that, we start with sort of the Nomad doing his thing,
running
for lack
away,
of a better term, running.
Terrified into a sandstorm. We learned that Scout still has one of those books left.
Yep, and it's an important book. It's about you know, sort of
from the first
nowhere,
episode.
It seems, and so Nowhere is an actual place, which I also think is pretty interesting.
So I think Nowhere is basically a place that's not one of the kingdoms that we learn about.
Yeah,
later.
and so it's supposed to sort of, I mean, obviously, like, it's a play, I don't want to say a play on words, but it's the Nomad of Nowhere, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's supposed to be funny, is basically, what I'm trying to get at.
Cal?
What?
Explaining a joke.
Okay.
Nothing is
better.
Me up more.
Oh god.
Okay.
So yeah, so that is definitely something that is sort of going on here, for lack of a better word. So there is sort of this old lady that's just camping out in the castle for some reason, and obviously, like, they talk about this in the last episode, but it seems like the race of people which Toph and this old lady is from, like, seem to still want to go back to the old way. So it sounds like that all of these elf people, if you want to call them that, used to have magic, and that this King El Rey...
Okay, so I feel like you're skipping ahead at least a little bit.
Whoa, hold on. I mean, I don't know. We can jump around. So that El Rey, like, the king originally, or whoever, like, he killed all of them. He genocided them and found a magic crown.
He found a magic crown. He used it to, like, rule as, like, a good king. But then he realized that that crown needed power.
To eat
the
people.
Power of, like, other magical individuals. So that's where all the magical individuals were lost.
Mm-hmm.
He genocided the entire magical population. Like, Gandalf, Dumbledore, they all went.
That's, okay, so, like, I'm not gonna tell you how to genocide your kingdom, but that's actually a pretty bad idea.
Also,
like, in general,
made it seem
like, instead of breeding,
I
don't want to say breeding, but instead of breeding, like, the magic people, he killed all of them, and I get, like, times are tough, man.
Wizards, y'all just gotta fuck a lot. Like,
yeah, like, why didn't he, I don't know why he didn't, but, like, I'm saying, why didn't he, like, try to strategically enhance the population, I guess, unless magic is something that you can't do that with, I suppose. Like, I don't know what else to say. So, there's that. That's one thing. But it seems like it has been more of the people like Toph.
So
and not everybody has magic, though, because Toph and her people still exist, right?
Toph doesn't have magic.
Yeah, Toph
I don't think necessarily. All it says is that her people last longer than others.
I know, but I think that they talked about how the Yolanda, I guess, like, longed for the old ways. So that sort of implied to me that, like, there was a way of their life before that they can no longer sustain, and it would make sense if they were the ones being killed that they can no longer sustain their life. Do you understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I got that idea from. So I think, first of all, not everybody has magic, and second of all, the people that do have magic were wiped out in order to kind of get eaten by this crown. But now you kind of have this question of why this little old lady is chilling here. Like, what's she doing?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Just hanging out.
But yeah, before that, though, there's a fight with a rhinoceros. There's a fight with a rhinoceros. So that's something that happens. We can keep going. It's still recording. It's just broken. So that's unfortunate for you guys. When I did my update video and said there was something wrong with my computer, this is what I meant. So, we'll just continue on as usual, I guess. Yeah, so they have this rhinoceros fight, right? Scout is kind of injured, and then Toph rescues her, basically.
Also, this is the first time in this show so far that they've shown a lot of blood.
Yeah,
like,
so that,
he throws a knife into the eye.
They're trying to establish that, like, this isn't what we think anymore.
Adult.
You know what I mean? Like, they're trying to, I feel like they're trying to say, like, bitch, you thought wrong. You know what I mean? And I think that that's, I think that that's super interesting, so to speak, right? And so they're kind of showing us, like, hey, this isn't a kid's show. You know what I mean? Because I feel like they did that. What else did they do that with?
With Ruby with the bitch.
Well, with Ruby with the... Yeah, exactly.
I guess pretty early on in Camp.
Yeah, pretty early on in Camp, they were like, yeah, this show isn't for kids, guys. You know what I mean? And so that's always, sort of interesting. You know what I mean? And so there's that. And so I feel like that, not that it was a fake out, but they tried to make things sort of happy and light to kind of trick people, and now they are...
like, hitting them with the hard stuff, like, oh, this is about a despotic, genocidal ruler.
Exactly. Which is kind of a little concerning, but at the same time, like, you know, it happens, I guess, right?
Who among us hasn't been despotic and genocidal?
And, like, when we were talking about, I guess, like, how, like, Ruby handled the Faunus and everything, like, they're going full genocide in this show. Like, they're not even trying to hide it. I feel like they did learn from the mistakes of Ruby, right? And so we kind of have two things going on here. So you have the Nomad sort of remembering, I think he is remembering the history. I think that's supposed to be the implication, is
or
that
like
he remembers all this happened.
Being in the presence of this place
made him remember, yeah.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Which
or that it could even be the old lady that's kind of the driving force for this, that she is making them remember, right?
That probably means, like, why they want why El Rey wants him so bad, because maybe he ran out of magic.
He's running out again, and he's hoping that this rando has sort of the rest of it, you know what I mean?
Because maybe he can make the little boys, and then he can suck up the magic with the boys. And then it also wonders, like, well, maybe what's extra special? Do they just want more magic, or is whatever glowing in his chest, like, an infinite source of magic?
Maybe, yeah. Something like that, right?
It furthers the questions.
It does. There's just a lot of questions.
It also explains the geography of the world better, in that there's El Rey in the center, then there's north, east, south, and west.
And then there's the Oasis.
There's governors of each individual spot.
Exactly.
Which were just monsters that he created with his magic. And he's 100 years old. The monsters are probably also 100
you saw that
old.
he turned old, and then he became young again, right? So I think that
as his magic, maybe he wants to not die.
The implication there is sort of that this magic is making him live forever, right? I think that was pretty clear, I suppose. And so I feel like that is definitely part of it, right? That this, whatever this magic crown is supposed to be doing, it is also, how do I say this? It's also keeping him alive, like, it's making him an immortal king. And so I think that this was a really interesting way to sort of showcase things, because I think that, like, you get a sense of, I don't know, I think there's just something always compelling about somebody that starts out as somebody who is a good and just ruler, but then they realize, like, it's almost like the needs of the many or the needs of the few sort of thing. So, like, at first he found it justifiable because he was saving all of these people, right? Like, he was saving all of the people who were sick and needed help, like, he was doing all that. But then, as time went on, it was more about him and his own selfishness, if that makes sense, right? And so I think that that's a really compelling point of his character, and I think it was also done, like, very naturally. Like, it wasn't that in your face, but you could still, like, clearly understand what was going on. I just think that that's, like, such a nice thing that they did. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that that's really good, I guess. Right? And then you have the, like, the idea that Toph, like, really does care about Scout, and, like, it's El Rey, that's a dick. Or not El Rey, it's the Dawn, sorry.
You also wonder if they're gonna, like, break good and then try to help the Nomad
I think
later
that
on.
is where we're getting. I think that's why this part of the show is supposed to be part 2 to something. Like, how do I say this? The next part of the show is supposed to be a part 2, if that makes sense. Like, that's what they said during the video that was talking about the hiatus, is that this is supposed to be a part 1, kind of. Like, this is supposed to be the first act of the season, or something along those lines, if you know what I mean, right? And so I think that that is, I don't know, just pretty compelling, I guess, like, just as an idea that, this is the first half where it's almost like a prologue, and then the rest of the show is gonna be Toph and Scout and the Nomad together. Like, that's where I kind of see things going. If they're actually gonna go that way, we're gonna have to wait and see, but I feel like that's kind of what they're trying to do. Like, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? But, I don't know, that just seems like the most compelling direction, and also maybe that they can appeal to the king later, because it seems like it's almost like Ruby, where like, oh, in the 4 continents there's 4 people to fight and kind of, you know, all of that. But I feel like the difference is going to be, first, because of Ruby, they'll be able to kind of do it better, just because, you know, they have more experience, they've developed, they've learned abilities. I don't want to say learn from their mistakes, because I don't think that they have,
nor is it all the time really all that, like, the racism.
Yeah, exactly.
Ruby, as portrayed, is not always that terrible.
Yeah,
like,
and so bad. There's that. And then I guess there's just also sort of the idea that, I don't know how to explain this exactly. Just, I don't know, I think that it's interesting to kind of see them establish all the characters separated and then just bring them together later, and then maybe they can appeal to the king, and obviously, it's not that there's not going to be a fight. I think that they're still going to have to take him down. But, like, you were a good king once. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's such a compelling direction for this show. You know what I mean? To kind of establish that, like, to appeal to the king that he once was. Like, he doesn't need to still be this. He turned into it over time. But they can make him a good ruler again and, like, all of that stuff. Or maybe a more interesting twist would be that Toph now kills him and she's the crazy one, right? That would also be pretty interesting.
That would certainly extend the runtime of the show.
Yeah. And so it's kind of just, it just kind of depends, like, who knows? Who really knows, you know what I mean? And so we just sort of, it's one of those things where we have to wait and see, but I really enjoyed this episode. Yeah, I think it would be really interesting if Toph killed Elray, and then it was about Toph being a little power crazy, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that would be kind of fun, as an idea, right? And I think that the last thing I want to say is I like how they sort of ended off, because there's so many unanswered questions and it does build the hype, but obviously it seems like they do need to take a break, and so that's why they're taking it now. Like, it's a good time to take a break. It also gives Hunter and I, like, chances to think about theories and stuff before things, like, before stuff catches up, I guess, right?
Yes. Like me not being here for a week, or the inevitability of school returning again.
Yeah, like, just stuff like that, and so I feel like that's really nice. And the last thing that I'll say, though, is that I'm just a little mad that they're going on hiatus. I understand why they're doing it. Like, obviously, they want to balance all of their projects skillfully, let's say, but I am a little like, oh, but they're not coming back next week, you know what I mean? Just because this episode was such an interesting episode and gave us so many interesting things, I guess. Like, it's just sort of sad that they decided, like, now would be a good time to kind of leave us hanging like this. But, you know, at the same time, I do understand their decision. I understand why they did it. And I do really like at the end that Toph seems to be still struggling.
Character development.
Yeah, exactly.
She's not a static character, which is very nice.
Because a lot of people were like, well, Toph hasn't gotten a lot of development yet, but now you see she does care about Scout, but she also has duty to uphold, which, like, this entire thing is sort of, I don't want to say ironic, I don't think that's the right word, but the whole, like, thing in Princess and the Pauper, like, right, Dawn looks like Preminger, we established that in an earlier video.
A reference that only really you guessed?
I mean, a couple people were very happy that I did it, so I'm guessing that they understood it too, like that I pointed that out, so I can only assume that it's not just me, other people have understood that reference, but, like, the whole thing in the Princess and the Pauper movie is that Annalise is, like, sad because now that her kingdom is, like, penniless because of Preminger, who has stolen all of their money, she has to marry a king, and it's sort of this idea, like, you know, I have a duty to my people, I can't just abandon them, like, all of that sort of stuff, and I feel like that just fits in really well with Nomad of Nowhere for some reason. Like, isn't that weird? Like, when you really think about it, Hunter, like, isn't that a little weird? That they have, like, a similar themes to something, and then the Dawn looks very interestingly similar to, yeah, both the Schnees and also, like, some random Barbie movie that, like, people don't remember.
Do, like, I'm worried that this may become a video that I have to sit through.
Oh, dear.
That you make.
Like a comparison video?
Yes.
No.
Not only that, I imagine that becoming, like, a college lecture. Like, you have a lecture hall, you have the PowerPoint. Like, in this essay, I will explain how Don Paragon and Preminger
are the same person.
From the
you know the High School Musical
classic.
timeline?
Yes.
So this is so this is basically the Nomad of Nowhere timeline, and in one of the universes, Preminger fled from the kingdom, because that's what he does in the movie. He flees because he's been caught and he falls off a cliff. But here it could be
he survives.
Yeah.
There's a universe in which he dies, and there's a universe in which he survives.
Yeah, and he survives and becomes the Dawn.
Oh, God.
I think that's fine. That seems like a very, that seems like a logical conclusion to get to, if you know what I mean. Like, that makes perfect sense, guys. Alright, so anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember that you guys should join our Discord server, become patrons over on Patreon, and, I guess we'll see you in our Nomad of Nowhere theories, because this is our last analysis for a while, because there will be nothing else to analyze.
You sound really sad about this, Kat.
Anyway, we'll see you later. Bye, guys!